Díomh gachtainna Rónán ó Raghallaigh is anam dom. Is alíonn tóir mé agus i bríom I NIVAL amáile clia. Agus aniu beag mé caint faoi NIVAL agus an Gaeilge, Béilgeas agus Tíreach. So hello everybody, my name is Rónán ó Raghallaigh. I'm an artist and I work in NIVAL in Dublin. I'm a library assistant there. And today I'm going to be talking about NIVAL and the Irish language, folklore and landscape. I'm going to be speaking in English, but there will be Irish throughout, so you might pick up a few words as I go. Just to tell you about NIVAL quickly, it's a library and archive of art that relates to Ireland from 1900 onwards. Researchers book by appointment and they view material on individual artists, galleries and subjects. And we're situated on NCAD campus, so a lot of our researcher requests are from students. So I am relearning the Irish language as an adult. And not only me, but the whole staff have noticed that there's been a huge increase in researcher requests over the last 2 years, mostly from students, so they're probably about 19 or 20, and they're interested in the Irish language. And something we've also noticed is that this interest in the Irish language is usually accompanied by an interest in folklore and the environment. So today I'm going to talk about my own relationship with the language, the context of the language in the contemporary world, how the Irish language is incorporated into our day-to-day workings in the library. I'll talk you through some of the requests that we've received, and I'll also show you a few examples from our collection. And my overall focus today is how NIVAL functions as a place where not only people are doing research, but it's also a place where people can practice and engage with córa agus cultúr, which means conversation and culture. So muchadribh leis an Gaeilge. I am from County Kildare, which is not traditionally known for Irish language speaking. We didn't speak Irish at home, we spoke English. I didn't attend a Gael school, which is a school where Irish is the primary language. And Kildare is not a Gaeltacht region. If anyone doesn't know, a Gaeltacht is a place in Ireland where Irish has survived as the primary language. There's a few pockets around the country, like Donegal, Connemara, Kerry, Cork, Waterford. There's a small one in County Meath, and there's a new one in Belfast, which might be one of the most exciting ones. So, as well as being a library assistant, I am an artist and I work with painting and performance. And so I learned Irish in school, as many people did in the country. Most people learn it for about 15 years and then we still can't speak it when we finish school. Didn't speak it for 10 years, didn't really think about it for 10 years. And 3 years ago, I started learning again. So I started going to classes in Kildare. I'm still doing them in Dublin. So I've been going to Irish classes once a week for basically 3 years. I've gone to the Gaeltacht in Donegal to do a 1-week course. And now I have a group of friends in Dublin who all speak Irish, and my partner speaks Irish, who I met through the Irish language. So in my artwork, relearning Irish has become a really important aspect of my practice, and I use it for the titles of my paintings. I do writing as well, and I use the Irish language mixed with English, and I also do kind of vernacular writing, so it's almost 3 things going on: English, Irish and vernacular. And I also do use it in performances. So the picture on the screen is a screenshot from a 20-minute filmed performance which took place at a holy well in Dunlavin in County Wicklow for Dunlavin Arts Festival last year. So the piece itself was called An Tubbar agus an Cluch, which means the well and the stone. And I also spoke Irish in the performance itself. So that's an example of how the language is being mixed into my practice. And it's also ticking the box of folklore with the holy well and the landscape or the environment that we live in. So an Gaeilge inniu, that means Irish today. If anyone doesn't know as well, an Gaeilge is what Irish is called in Irish. I just wanted to give you a quick background context just so you know like the status of the language today. So UNESCO in 2021 declared that Irish is definitely endangered in Europe, which means that it's at risk of going extinct over the next 100 years as a native spoken language. In the 2022 Republic of Ireland census, around 40% of people said they can speak it or they can understand it at least, but only 2% say that they speak it on a daily basis as their functional language. And from the 2016 census to the 2022 census, there was a decline in people speaking Irish in the Gaeltacht regions. The 2021 Northern Irish census, 12% of the population said they have some ability of Irish, 4% said they have proficiency. So it's 70,000 on both sides of the border, so 140,000 in total on the island say that they have proficiency, which is quite low when you consider that a couple of centuries ago it was the primary language on the island. And of course, Irish people abroad in the diaspora would be speaking it as well. So there's actually a Gaeltacht in Canada. It's the only Gaeltacht outside of Ireland. And yeah, obviously there are people in the States and Canada, the UK, Australia, places like that who would have Irish. There is optimism though, because Irish language media has become increasingly popular over the last few years. Most notably, I guess, might be in film. So there's been two very different films, As Gaeilge, on Colleen Kuhn and Kneecap. Both of them have kind of done their part to raise awareness of the language. There's dozens and dozens of Irish language singers, writers. There's a lot of Irish language social media, television, and things like that. So there is a big movement and a big push and a lot of enthusiasm and fuinneamh, which means energy at the moment. So Ty Dory in NIVAL. So I'm going to look now at the researchers in NIVAL. So I'm going to be talking about like specific times where NIVAL has functioned as a place for engagement with the language. So about 2 years ago, we had a film crew in NIVAL for a day, filming an episode for Ashtar an Auron, which means the journey of the song. And the two presenters were from the County Kerry Gaeltacht, and I was maybe like a year into relearning Irish and like still feeling a bit shaky with it, but I decided to just be Croga brave and just try to speak As Gaeilge with them. So I did, and thankfully they were really friendly and really patient with my patchy Irish, and they were really encouraging. And yeah, I sat down for lunch with them and we had conversations in Irish. And that was actually the first time that I think that I ever heard Irish being spoken in a workplace, or at least in my workplace. So it was kind of a light bulb moment, or it was definitely made an impression on me. And after that appointment, I decided that if it's possible, I'll try to incorporate Irish into the workplace whenever I can, or just into my daily life. So lo and behold, a couple of weeks after that, we had a researcher travel over from Florida. She works in the Florida State University, and she was organizing an exhibition called Talamh agus Teanga, which means land and language. So it fits into the connection between the language and the environment. So she was using NIVAL to prepare for this exhibition. And she's Irish American, but she is learning Irish as an adult. She's been to the Gaeltacht a few times. So just from speaking together, we kind of figured out that we're both relearning, and we tried to conduct the appointment as much as Gaeilge as possible. And then just since then, there's been several times when people have come in and maybe they know me already, or just from talking, we might realize that we're both interested in the language, and we'll try to use it as much as possible in their appointments. So out of hundreds and hundreds of appointments in the last 3 years, like less than 10 have been in Irish, but they've all stood out in my memory. So to think of like NIVAL's day-to-day operations, it's actually been an excuse for me to learn new words, which is really nice. So if people here speak Irish or they have some from school, they'll remember that Lower is a book and Lowerlin is a library. And I just want to make a note about this word. This is my opinion, so take it with a grain of salt. But I think that one of the reasons why people say that like Irish is a dead language or it's not relevant today, one of the reasons that happens might be that we tend to romanticize it so much, and we talk about how beautiful it is and how ancient and almost mystical it is. And sometimes it can be that, but sometimes it's just banal and normal. So you might notice that Lower comes from Latin, liber, just like French has leave. So it's actually kind of banal, it just comes from Latin. So Cartlin is an archive. This word I never heard it before until I had to look it up. And now it's part of my like daily usage when I'm finished work. Usually I'll get a text from my partner saying, "Cunnas be on Cartlin and you, how was the archive today?" A code is a file. Taida is research. So Tame Igdane of Taida, I'm doing research. Tidor is a researcher. Aline is art. Paintall, painting. Dalvorupt, sculpture. That was also a brand new word for me. Never heard it before until I worked in NIVAL. Caird is craft, and Jara is design. So we also have bilingual signage in NIVAL. It wasn't initiated by us. It was initiated by NCD College itself. And I also noticed that they're around LSAD as well. I just learned the word for caretaker, but I can't remember it now. Uffigan Egli, I think it was. So anyway, we have bilingual signage around NIVAL. So if you're in with us, you will see these signs on the door. So Shomer Le Horakta is our reading room, and Storas Coward is file store. There's an organization called First na Gaeilge, and they're trying to help and promote businesses who want to use Irish in their workplace. It's usually for shops. So you can write to them and tell them that you want to incorporate the language in your workplace, and they'll send you materials for free. So we've done that, and now I have a sign on my desk that says Tá Gaeilge a gum, which means I have Irish. So if someone comes into the office and they see that, they can start talking Irish to me if they want. Seachtain na Gaeilge happens every year, and it's a week where the Irish language is celebrated. So 2 years ago, the main library in NCD invited us in NIVAL to contribute and to put on a display of some of our Irish language material. So like at the time, me and my colleague had been saying, oh, like people are asking for a lot of Irish language material, aren't they? But we had never actually sat down and took stock of what we do have. So this was the first time where we actually spent time and really looked at the collection and tried to find like what do we actually have relating to the Irish language. So I want to talk about the researchers themselves and what they request. So Iritish Taida, that's requests. 9 times out of 10 from a student, they're usually saying to us, what do you have on Irish language? What do you have on folklore? What do you have on the environment? They don't have something specific in mind. They just want an introduction. So that's the most common request. But we have had several instances of people who maybe are a bit more up to speed with what's out there, and they might be looking for specific things. So here's some of the things we've been requested. Triplicity in Irish myth, if anyone knows much about Irish myth or even like pre-Christian art in Ireland, the number 3 is a recurring theme. And while we were having our coffee, I noticed that someone has spray painted a triple spiral on the wall in the courtyard there. We've been asked about Irish plant folklore and cures, the puka, who's kind of a ghost or a spirit, boglands, traditional Irish clothing and costume, the relationship between Irish mythology and gender today, and customs and festivals such as Samhain or Halloween. So a project that we're working on in NIVAL is to create lib guides, which I've translated as Raghallaigh, which I'm not sure is correct, and it's not as snappy, so we might have to work on that one. But from Seachtain na Gaeilge, we had this list of Irish language material, so it was quite easy to just input it into a spreadsheet. So on screen is a screenshot of the early, the beginnings of this Irish language libguide. So now it has multiple entries and everyone in NIVAL has access to it. So we can access it as staff ourselves if someone says that they're interested in this topic, or we can show the researcher themselves and they can see what jumps out or what's relevant. So I just want to show you a small selection of the type of material that NIVAL has relating to the Irish language. So this is some of the things you might expect to be shown if you were to come into us with this request. So the first place that we might start is Aline sa Gaeltacht, the obvious place to start. So art that happens where Irish is the primary language. There are several galleries and art centres in the Gaeltacht areas in Ireland. The one on screen is our file for Áras Éine, which is an art centre on Inisheer Island, just off the coast of the Cliffs of Moher. I went there in February on an artist residency, and it's amazing and it's a beautiful place. So we would have their exhibition flyers and media and things like that in a file that you can view. Something else that we might show a researcher would be Anamnacha as Gaeilge. So a lot of artist groups and organizations use the language as their name of the group, even though they conduct all their business through English. That's something that we've noticed, that people use it for titles a lot. So this is just one example. This is a file for an artist group called Na Cailleacha. You might know, if you're into folklore, that An Cailleach was a land goddess in Ireland who created stone cairns by dropping stones out of her apron. But in modern Irish, it kind of has negative connotations. It now can mean a hag or a witch. So this group are, I suppose, trying to reclaim the word or trying to bring it back to a positive meaning. Something else we might point a researcher to is leirad, which means illustration. We have lots and lots of books in our library which are in Irish, and then we would keep them because they've been illustrated by an artist. So this is one example. This is on Tilánach by Tomás O'Cruthan, which is illustrated by Maria Simmons Gooding. Ilan is an island, so on Tilánach means the islander. Like I mentioned, people use Irish for the names of their groups, but a lot of painters also use it for the titles of their paintings. So again, this is just one example. This is a book of Sinead NIVAL's paintings. And I don't think you can see the text on the page, but the paintings are titled Acher, which means a distance or a journey. Another aspect of our collection is glúiseanna, which means glossaries. We have a lot of artist books where someone has collected Irish words and displayed alongside art. So this particular one is See Tamagotchi by Manchán Magan, which is a collection of words relating to the ocean or to water. The page on the right-hand side is the word for tulka, which means a huge wave, a large mass of fish, and a horn-led charge. So I'm going to contradict what I said about not liking Irish as a romantic, beautiful language. Here is an example of a really beautiful old word full of meaning. And I'm sure a lot of you know that there's a festival in Galway every year called Tulka. So next time you see it, you now know what the word means. So this isn't relating to the language itself, but this is just to think about the fact that that interest often comes with an interest in folklore and land. So again, there's loads and loads of examples. So this is just one of them, but we might show someone that we have a lot of material about Joseph Beuys. He's a German performance artist who visited Ireland and Britain several times in the 70s and 80s. And he had a huge interest in all things Celtic, as he called them. And he visited Newgrange, and you can see on the book cover here that he's at the Giant's Causeway doing his best druid's impression. If you read Irish myth, there's several instances where if a druid is doing a spell, they'll put their hands in the air like that. So I'm sure he must have read that, and he's trying to channel his inner druid at the Giant's Causeway. And this is the last thing that I want to talk about. I'm always recommending this book to researchers. This is called Men Who Eat Ringforts by Sinead Mercier and Michael Holly, and it's produced by Askeaton Contemporary Arts in County Limerick, which is about 20 minutes drive west from here. It's one of, in my opinion, one of the best arts organizations in the country. They produce a lot of books, and this particular one is, again, kind of contradicting the idea of folklore and land as romantic and untouched and unspoiled. This book actually talks about how under pressure archaeological sites are in Ireland today. So the cover is actually a satellite view of a ring fort or a fairy fort, and you can see that a road or motorway has been built right beside it. So it's unfortunately something that has happened hundreds and hundreds of times, and it's documented in the book. So if someone's interested in folklore or land or environmental issues, this is a book that we might recommend to them. So tá mé beagnach críochna, I'm nearly finished. Gur maith agat means thank you, Oscuelga. I just want to finish by saying that NIVAL is acting informally as a hub for students, professional artists and academics to not only study Irish and art, but also to learn, practice and use their own Irish. One of the major challenges to learning the Irish language is finding a place to immerse yourself in it and to speak it outside of the classroom context, to actually use it as a living, breathing landscape, or a living, breathing language. That has been the most challenging thing for me, trying to relearn it. It's so hard to find a place where you can actually use it outside of a classroom. So by encouraging the use of Irish, NIVAL is providing a space for the normalization and the use of Irish in everyday life in Dublin, where it's not the primary everyday language. In that beautiful glossary seat Tamagotchi with the word tulka, Manchán Magan says in the introduction, losing even a single word can result in a disruption to the transfer of knowledge across generations, which I think is a really powerful sentiment, considering the statistics that I showed you earlier on. So through the processes I've discussed, NIVAL is helping people remember intergenerational knowledge. Gaurav Mahagwiv, thank you.